Hello, St. Mark's. I'm going to continue my series on women in music this week during Women's History Month with a character named Fanny Mendelssohn Hensel. If any of you have ever read Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own, you might remember she makes an argument using a fictional character named Judith Shakespeare, the supposed sister of William Shakespeare. Judith aspires to be a writer and poet just like her brother, but because of the societal limitations placed on her as a woman, she's not afforded the same opportunities as her brother. In Woolf's book, Judith Shakespeare falls in love and becomes pregnant with a man's child. However, she can't deal with Elizabethan society's attitudes towards such things and ends up committing suicide. Woolf uses this fictional story about Judith Shakespeare to illustrate her point that in order to succeed in writing, a woman needs a room of her own and £500 a year. In a way, Fanny Mendelssohn Hensel proves Virginia Woolf's point. Fanny is the sister of Felix Mendelssohn, the famous Mendelssohn whose pieces I played a few weeks ago here at St. Mark's. And I also played his Songs Without Words several months ago on Music Monday. In 1805, when she was born, her father, Abraham Mendelssohn, wrote that Leah, her mother, said that Fanny had Bach fugue fingers. Fanny and Felix both received their earliest music lessons from their mother, Leah. It's reported that at this time, Fanny was actually the better pianist than Felix. After studying with a couple of German pianists, Abraham Mendelssohn took his children to Paris to study with a teacher there. By the age of 13, Fanny Mendelssohn could play the well-tempered clavier of Johann Sebastian Bach from memory. Fanny and her brother Felix were always very close. Rather than being competitive, they were encouraging toward one another. One pianist who toured Berlin and visited the Mendelssohns in their home remarked that Felix was an incredible musician, but so was Fanny. In fact, he was so taken with Fanny that he conjectured she might earn a doctorate in music one day. In 1829, Fanny Mendelssohn becomes engaged to the painter Wilhelm Hensel. This was during the time period when Felix and Fanny were reviving Bach's St. John Passion, and they were going to perform it for the first time since Bach's death in 1750. By all accounts, Fanny was brilliant, but in her diaries we learn that she was in fact a girl's girl. She liked fashion, and her father was traveling in Holland when she got engaged. He went shopping and bought wedding clothes for her, and it included a veil that was full of ribbons and embroidery and made with fine fabrics. She says of the veil that her father sent to her, "The beautiful veil has created quite a sensation in the female minds and causes much agitation, veils not being the fashion here for brides. But I like a veil. I think it so beautiful and fit for such an occasion, and it would be suitable for me on account of my red neck. Therefore I have the greatest mind to wear it, and to be the first, sure enough, not to be the last." Felix volunteered to compose a wedding piece for his sister's wedding. However, either he didn't finish it or it didn't arrive in time, and Fanny composed the music for her own wedding the night before it happened. One reason that Felix's piece may not have arrived in time for Fanny's wedding is that Felix was unable to attend his beloved sister's wedding. He was recovering after a cab accident in London and unable to travel. Fanny had one child, and she named him Sebastian Hensel, after Johann Sebastian Bach. It was Sebastian's biography that he compiled from Fanny's diaries and correspondence that form the most widely accepted biography of the Mendelssohn family to this day. As a composer, Fanny Hensel composed lieder, or songs meant to be sung by a singer, piano pieces, and choral works as well. One of these choral works takes on particular significance for us today during this COVID-19 pandemic. Although we are coming closer to the end, it's still not over. In 1831, Fanny Hensel wrote a cholera cantata in response to the cholera epidemic that was plaguing Berlin at that time. Fanny was deeply distressed by the cholera epidemic and wrote about it often in her diary. After the loss of a distant relative to the epidemic, she decided to write this cantata to help others with their grief. For many years at this point, the Mendelssohns had hosted bi-weekly concerts in their home in Berlin. These concerts were all the rage in high society, and several members of the court regularly attended these performances as well. The whole Mendelssohn family chipped in for these performances. Fanny was often featured playing the piano or conducting a small choir she assembled for these concerts. Fanny's cholera cantata likely appeared on this concert series, and the text for the cantata draws from the Bible, particularly the Book of Psalms, Isaiah, Job, 2 Maccabees, 2 Timothy, and from the Book of Revelation. Very few of Fanny Hensel's compositions were published during her lifetime. The few that were published under her brother's name. Felix recounts that once during a visit to Buckingham Palace in London, Queen Victoria decided to sing one of Mendelssohn's own pieces for him. Mendelssohn wrote that he critiqued a little bit of the Queen's intonation and technique and some misconceptions about accidentals in the score, but that it was fairly good for an amateur musician. After that, he had to confess to Queen Victoria that the work was not his own, but that of his sisters. Fanny Hensel died at the age of 49 from a stroke. She was conducting a rehearsal for one of her family's concerts and suffered a stroke and died later that day. Her brother Felix died less than 6 months later. Fanny Mendelssohn Hensel's tombstone is engraved with the conclusion of one of her lieder. The text translates to, "Thoughts and songs go on into the kingdom of heaven." Today, I'll play one of Fanny Mendelssohn Hensel's piano pieces. It's a piano duet that I'll play with myself thanks to the wonders of modern editing technology. While I don't have a scholarly resource that confirms this, I can't help but imagine this must be an encore for one of the Mendelssohn family's concerts, perhaps played by Felix and Fanny together. I hope you enjoy this waltz for piano duet, and I will see you very soon.
Uh-oh, you're evaluating my work.
I am.
Are you subscribed?
I will with a red button.
And give us a thumbs up.
I'm a fan, of course.